One of the most common questions I get as a GRE and GMAT tutor is, will schools be able to see my bad results? As in, if I do badly on the test, will the business schools be able to see that even if I do another test after? And I'm not going to waste 10 minutes to get to the answer. I'll just say no. I can reassure you that if you do badly in a test, and the GRE and GMAT is slightly different, so I'm going to go into details, schools won't see that if you don't want them to. Let's start with the GRE. With the GRE, you won't get to see your score when they present you with the decision to cancel or not. That's the big difference. With the GMAT, you see your unofficial score and then decide cancel or not cancel. With the GRE, you won't see your score yet and it'll ask you if you want to cancel. Now at this stage, I strongly recommend you don't cancel. Even if you feel like the test went awfully, unless you literally collapsed in a fit and didn't answer 50 questions, don't cancel the score. Because even if it felt really hard, that could be an indication that you did well and you got the hard section. Or maybe you got lucky with your guesses. You never know. So there's basically no point in cancelling your score at that point. So what happens if you click on view your score, and at that point you can't cancel, and then you see a disappointing score and you don't want the schools to see it? Well, I'm here to tell you that the schools won't see that disappointing score if you don't want them to. Essentially, what will happen is that after the exam, maybe a day later, whatever, you will use their score select feature and send off your better result, the one that wasn't disappointing. Of course, if you don't have a better result, you can just resit the test, and if you do get a better result, send that score only, and they won't see the worst score that you got that day. So many students don't realise that essentially you can pick and choose what results to send. With the GMAT, it's even easier, and I'll get to that in a second. You can see your unofficial score and then decide, do you want to cancel or not cancel? Essentially, the only limiting factors in getting a better result, therefore, how many tests you can afford to take, obviously, cost $200 for the GRE and $250 for the GMAT as of the time of recording this video. And then two other limits, which is the deadlines you might have for your applications and the fact that you can't take more than 5 tests in any 365-day period. But other than that, you can take as many as you want and pick the best one. They won't see your bad scores unless you want them to. There is a tiny asterisk though, which is some schools, very few, and you can check if your school is one of them, will ask for all of your scores. But that's very rare, increasingly so these days. So check out if the school you're applying to asks for all of them. Otherwise, in 99% of cases, you won't have to show your bad result. Meaning essentially that you should never cancel your score before you see your result for the GRE. Now let's get into a little bit more of the details. Now you've heard and understood the headline. If you did decide to cancel, which again I don't advise, you can reinstate that test for $50. So if you've watched this video after having cancelled and you're wondering whether it was a good decision, you can spend the money and get that score reinstated. As for that score select option that I talked about, that's, as of writing, $27 per recipient school. So as ever, there's extra costs involved, of course, as you're probably used to now. But let's now get to some other interesting details about cancelling your results. On this website, ETS, the makers of the GRE, gives a bit more detail about the score select option. And as they say, quoting like I did, send only your best scores. GRE tests all provide the score select option, which means you can take a GRE test once now or again in the future and only send the GRE test scores from whichever test dates you want the schools to see. So that's as clear as we can make it. The schools won't see your bad results unless you want them to. And therefore you can be reassured when taking the test. If disaster strikes, it's not the end of the world. It's just a little bit of money spent and a bit of time of your day. That's it. Then they give a bit of detail about, do you want to send your most recent test, all of your tests, or a particular test. Notice on test day, you can't select a particular test to send if one of your previous ones was really good. But after test day, again, for that fee of $27, you can pick from any of your tests and send the best result. And as if you haven't heard it enough times, look what it says here. The schools you designate will only see the scores that you selected to send them. There will be no special indication if you have taken additional GRE tests. They won't know. They also put the asterisk that I did, which is some programs, very unusual, but some programs require applicants who have taken the GRE test more than once to report the scores from all of their GRE test administrations, even though they can't technically check how many times you've done the test. So make of that what you will. Just quickly, for those who are taking the GMAT, I want to emphasize the same point, which is that you are in a slightly better position in the sense that you can even see the score you want. And if it doesn't necessarily meet your goals, you can cancel it before you even leave the exam room. Now, this is important. Imagine you cancelled it because you got a 680 and you were aiming for a 700, but then you got back home and you realised that actually 680 is still pretty good and people are telling you that you should still apply to those schools, and I would be one of them. Well, if you are within 3 days or 72 hours after you've completed the exam, you can reinstate your score. All you have to do is log into mba.com and click the reinstate button. It's really easy. Again, just like with the GRE, there is a fee for doing the reinstatement or the cancelling if you don't do it on the day itself. But again, we're not talking a huge amount of money here. And to emphasize, like I did with the GRE, look at this. What happens when you cancel your scores? Your scores will not be sent to any of the schools you selected if you cancel your scores. So that most common question I always get from students, will schools see my bad results? No, is the answer. Of course, another quick difference that you may already know about, with the GMAT, you have to wait 16 calendar days to retake the exam. For the GRE, it's 21 days. A minor difference there. And I believe that if you reinstate within 72 hours, a cancelled score, it's free. As they say here, you can reinstate for up to 5 years afterwards, but there will be a fee. One quick thing to note for both the GRE and the GMAT, if something goes wrong at the test centre or in your proctored at-home exam and you feel you didn't get a fair shake, if you've got valid reasons and good evidence, you can actually get a exam credit. I've had that with a few students. If there's way too much noise or something crazy went on, you can basically reach out to them and say what happened and they'll give you a credit, meaning you can take the next test, retake essentially, for free. So that's good to know actually. And I know I didn't need to do this, but I thought I'd go to their frequently asked questions page and point it out one final time. Will schools be able to see that I have cancelled or reinstated my score? Schools will not see any indication of a cancelled score. Reinstated scores will be included in the score report sent to schools. However, there will be no indication that the score was ever cancelled or reinstated. It will look like any other valid GMAT score. And with that, I think I've proven my point, and I really hope this video has been helpful to reassure you about going for that exam, knowing that they won't see a bad result if you don't want them to.